At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Mike Krueger. You are watching Coffee with Krueger every weekday morning at 7 a.m. Right at this time is when you can be watching. Tell you what, this is where you're going to get the latest and greatest when it comes to the weather as far as the current conditions, what we can expect as we head out the door in the morning, and all of that good stuff. So a lot of great things what we can do here at Weather NorCal. And the other cool thing about this show is it's interactive. You can watch from YouTube on your computer, you can watch from Facebook on your computer or from your phone, and you can interact. You can ask questions, you can make comments, you can say good morning, you can say, hey, what's going on? This is what I got going on today. Get the conversation going, not only with me, but with other people as well. That's the beauty of what we do here at Weather NorCal, is it's all online, it's web-based, it's, the 24-hour streaming channel is basically online, and you can get it all different kind of places here, so it's just phenomenal. You can get Weather NorCal anywhere but the TV airwaves. That's the only difference between TV and what I'm doing. And of course, it's just a big difference. It's the wave of the future. TV is slowly going away, and we're starting to see more and more of this web-based internet good stuff going on here that everyone's just beginning to embrace more and more as we kind of get through this decade and the years to come. We'll tell you what, let's get to the quick forecast here before we really kind of get things going here. And we've got, of course, Tracy saying good morning this morning. So good morning to you, Tracy, and good morning to you all. And this is Thursday, August 8th. We're going to go ahead and take a look at Krueger's Quickcast, because as you know, I can sometimes go for a pretty long time in the weather. So for those of you that may be in a hurry, maybe it's 7 o'clock in the morning, you're getting ready to head out the door, this is what you can expect here. So you're starting off the morning, it's going to be in the mid to upper 60s for most of us in the valley. A little bit warmer in Corning at about 71, 72 degrees for Chico, and 71 degrees right now in Oroville. Take a look at the visibility out there, and yes, we are continuing to see that marine layer just kind of hanging out on the coast. Here's a look at Elk Country just north of Trinidad, and we're still, of course, seeing those low clouds. And, I just feel like I'm a broken record, right? Because I've just been saying that here the last couple of weeks, really. And we take a look now at what it looks like in Crescent City. Now, yesterday, yes, you got to start off the day with some sunshine. This morning, well, different story. And this is really going to be pretty much the story for the rest of the week, this weekend, and most likely even into next week. There will be mornings where, yeah, it will be clear. Other mornings where the fog just kind of comes on in. So it's one of those things where it just kind of comes and goes here. But for the most part, it's staying for quite a while. Again, we take another look at Elk Country and Trinidad here. See if there's any elk in there. Can you see any elk? No, I don't. I don't see any elk. But there have been times when, you're out there or even watching this camera. There's a crow. Looks like maybe a crow or a blackbird or something. So there's some wildlife. All right, let's take a look at the visibility out there. And again, we're at 0 mile visibility in Eureka, 1 mile visibility in Crescent City, and of course elsewhere, things are looking up and up. All right, take a look out the door this morning for your August 8th. Temperatures are going to be warming up at 8 o'clock this morning to the low 70s for most of us in the valley. And in fact, some of us in the valley are already seeing some of those temperatures here. Mid 60s for most of the higher elevations. And for the coast, fog, yep, there it is. Temperatures in the mid 50s. All right, let's take a look at the smoke forecast for today. Really, overall, if you saw smoke or haze yesterday, you're going to see it again today, unfortunately. And really, especially for Chester and Susanville, that's where we're going to see the most dense smoke here throughout the afternoon and into tonight. Now, for today, I've got temperatures. Yeah, they're on the downward trend. Yesterday, Reading saw a high of 106 degrees. How about 103 degrees? So we're dropping the temperatures. I mean, it's still hot. We got a ways to go before we can really start to cool things off a bit here. And taking a look at your 7-day outlook, yeah, temperatures are on the downward trend. Upper 90s for all of us in the valley, including Reading, below 100 degrees. Now, the normal high for this time of the year is about 99, so we're dropping below that 100-degree mark for the normal. But we got low to mid-90s here for Monday through Wednesday of next week. Taking a look at your 7-day outlook for the coast, inland, and for Trinity County. Also that downward trend with the exception of the coast. It feels like if you live on the coast and you hear me say a downward trend or a heat wave, you know that I'm not talking about you, right? You've got to understand that. So just know that. All right. Right there you can see for inland, yeah, you're down to the 80s by Monday and Tuesday, and low 90s for places like Weaverville. Here's a look at Mount Shasta, El Turris, and Susanville, and you've got the mainly sunny skies, but temperatures are dropping. Yeah, upper 80s too. Really kind of hovering around that 90-degree mark here for Mount Shasta, El Turris, and Susanville, and then mid 80s, mid to upper 80s here for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. All right, so that's your quick forecast. If you're heading out the door this morning, you know what to expect here as you're heading out. Maybe it's a little chilly for you, or maybe not so much, but overall, looks like it's going to be another hot day out there. Let's check in with some of you this morning, see how everybody's doing, and we've got Tracy saying happy Friday Eve. We've got Debbie Mitchell saying good morning, so certainly appreciate you all chiming in here this morning. We'll tell you what, let's get ourselves out to the fire, but before we get to that, I do want to remind you that you can send in your images, much like this beautiful shot sent in by Austin Grissom. A sunset cattle grazing. Now again, I don't know exactly where this is. That's why it's important if you do send these images that you let me know where the picture is taken so we can have an idea of where it is. And if you want to share your photos, I'd love to see them. You want to see them here on Coffee with Krueger? Do you want to see them on my morning update? You can do that. All you got to do is share your photos through the free Weather NorCal app from your iPhone or your Android. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to the fires. So here is what we know so far. The latest coming in from the Park Fire is that it's at 426,528 acres. And I'm going to double check that number again because, you know, these numbers, they change consistently and rapidly. And a lot of times I can, you know, update it and then a couple minutes later it's a different number. But it looks like, it's still the same, so it looks like we're in good shape there. So there you have it, 34% containment. Now, what we've seen here all week long is that if you look over here, basically the northeast side of the fire, see that arm that's coming out? That's the growth that we saw this week. There really hasn't been much growth outside of this over the last week. It's mainly been on that northeast side of the fire. So let's take a look at the latest heat signatures. Now, you look at the colors, you're like, what is all this? The gray is basically, that's at least, 6-7 days old. The lightest shades of yellow, that is 5 to 6 days old. The oranges are about 2 to 3 days old. And the red, that's the most recent data in the last 12 hours or so. So let's take a look at really the areas that we're concerned about, right? Like Mill Creek and Mineral and Childs Meadows, right? Kind of in that area of Highway 36, 172, and Highway 89. Now the red, again, is the most recent data. So you can see the most recent area is kind of just outside of, right around the perimeter of the fire, actually. In fact, let's put the perimeter on top of that. And you see the areas of white, that's the actual perimeter. The red is inside. So where you see the solid red around some white, that's basically areas that have not burned, just to kind of give you an idea. But again, you look at the perimeter and you can see for the most part, the heat signatures are within that perimeter. So we're not really seeing anything outside of this perimeter here. And this perimeter came in at about 6 o'clock this morning. So it's fairly recent data that we are looking at this point. So let's do this. We are now going to basically zoom in on this and really get a better perspective of what we're looking at. So there's Highway 172 at the bottom of your screen right there. And then if you go to around Mineral, that's Highway 36 right there. Sometimes those they kind of move around a little bit, but you get the idea. There's Highway 172, Highway 89, and then, of course, where Highway 89 meets Highway 172 is where you start getting into Childs Meadows. All right, so we look at Mill Creek, and look where the fire is gone. I mean, it is literally just neighboring and touching the community. No word yet if there have been any damaged or burned homes, but you can clearly see within the trees there are streets, there are homes. This is certainly an area of concern. You also have the Mill Creek Resort, which is, again, the fire perimeter is just kind of going around that. So you may recall earlier this week, the fire perimeter was nowhere near this, or it wasn't there yet. What the firefighters had done is firing operations. And what they do is they burn anything that's they burn a line that is in the path of the fire. And what that does is they're able to burn that on their time. That allows, as the fire gets to, then the fire doesn't have any fuels to burn. So it's easier for them to fight the fire as it gets closer to these communities. So we've been seeing a lot of these firing operations kind of in this area here. And it seems like, based on the latest fire perimeter, that it's worked. That the firefighters did a wonderful job in protecting the Mill Creek area, not to mention the Mill Creek Resort area as well. So that is phenomenal news to see that you can see, again, too close for comfort, right? I mean, it's hugging these communities. But at least, again, we're not seeing it just over all of Mill Creek. So that's really great to see as we look at Highway 172. All right, let's zoom it out here. We're going to take you out to Morgan Springs, and you'll notice it's not in the Morgan Springs area or Child's Meadows. I know somebody had asked about some of those communities. So let's take a look at some distances from the latest fire perimeter, and you're at less than a mile there. We take you out to Child's Meadows, and you're about just a little over a mile, 1.5 miles, close to 1.5 miles at that point as you get on the Highway 89. All right, let's do this. Let's take a look at how things are looking over. So again, you look up here. What they want to try to do is prevent it from hopping over Highway 36 or 89, right? So you can clearly see what looks to me, I can't say this for sure because I don't know, I'm not there, but what looks to me, clear to me, is that this right here, let's go ahead and do this, all of this is a firing operation, right? That goes goes along Highway 36 there. Then you'll notice, if we kind of go over here, this also looks like a bit of a firing operation as well. Now, this is obviously what? To protect the community of Mineral. So let's take you to Mineral and see where we're at this point. So we're going to take a look at Mineral, and you can start to see some of the homes, the streets that are associated with this. So let's take from, first of all, what looks to me to be the fire perimeter. And that would take us to Mineral proper at just under a mile. You can see Mineral Avenue is also just under a mile. Highway 36 about 1 mile. Morgan Avenue north of Highway 36 is 1.2 miles. We've got some structures over here at about 1.6, and of course it gets farther and farther away. This is, again, looks to be a firing operation, a fire operation, about a half a mile to Forest Lane. There's Aspen Lane East. We've got White Fir Lane at about 0.8 miles. And Beresford Way, about 1 mile. So again, we're getting uncomfortably close to the community of Mineral, but it's not there. And of course, you can rest assured that the firefighters are doing everything they can to protect these communities. So, just know that. Now, again, you can see the areas that haven't burned at this point. Most likely, all of the areas that haven't burned in here have filled in or will fill in. Let's put it that way. So again, the areas that aren't burned, again, I'm having some issues with my software that fills in this spot, but this is an area that has not burned, but that will probably later today burn. And then you can see some of these spots out here. Are they firing operations? I couldn't tell you, but they look like spot fires to me on the east side of Highway 172 at this point. But there you can kind of see again, really you have this area that is surrounded by highways, right? 172, 89, and 36. And that area will most likely kind of burn and fill in a little bit here. Again, hoping that they can protect the community of Mill Creek and, of course, areas to the south and east of Mineral as well. So, of course, fingers crossed on that one. So, again, that's looking at the latest fire perimeter for the park fire. What I want to do now is I'm going to take you to just this map again. And I want to stress what we're looking at here. So when we look at this, what we're seeing is, I got to do this real quick. Let me get this out. Yeah, there we go. The areas in black are the contained areas. We got the 34% containment. The 34% containment are the lines of black that you can see right there. So parts of the north end of the fire is contained, northwest parts of the fire. There is one little area here on the west side, just to the east of Red Bluff, where it is not contained at this point. But, you know, they are probably nearing that, is what I would be willing to guess. I did see a report near the Dairyville area yesterday. There was a little bit of growth closer to the Dairyville area. Again, you'll kind of see here. Let's take a look at the area that is not contained and see what we're looking at as far as the distance from Dairyville. And we're about just under 4 miles from the west side of that. And for Red Bluff, you're at about, for Red Bluff proper, just under 10 miles. What we're looking at, just kind of give you an idea. Because again, that's probably an area of concern for people that are, just west of an area that is, not in that containment line. That can obviously be an area of concern. But again, you can kind of see where most of the containment is. So where we've seen most of the growth this week is basically this arm that has developed here and grown to the north and east. And essentially, one of the big reasons why it took off so quickly, number one, we were coming out of a weekend where humidity levels were a little bit higher. We had some cloud cover. The fire was not very active. The conditions were conducive for less activity. However, we started Monday morning in particular with the smoke clearing out. Then we saw the daytime heat. It started heating up and the fire just flared up. Now what happened was, as you go through that Mill Creek drainage, there's a lot of dry fuels, And it just very quickly spread. And in fact, from Monday to Tuesday, it had spread about 7 miles to the north and east. Now, it slowed down, but was still very active through the rest of the week, including even yesterday. So there you can see that's the area that we're really watching very closely because that is the area of concern. Of course, the biggest area of concern are Mineral and Mill Creek and Childs Meadows, for example, right? Those are the areas that are worth watching very closely. So for those of you that live in Chester, what does it look like for you? Well, you're at about 14 miles away. And by the way, some people have been asking, is it going into the Dixie Fire burn scar area? And to answer your question, yes, it's just beginning to touch the burn scarred area of the Dixie Fire. So it's kind of getting within that area, especially this arm here. This is the arm that really brought it there. So I was trying to get access to the fire perimeter for the Dixie Fire, but it just wasn't working properly. I'll see if I can maybe work on that again today and we'll have a better representation. But with that said, for some fun here, we'll take a look at, I think I've got them on here, the other fire perimeters. Not on this one. Let's go ahead and do fire perimeters, turn them on, and there we go. So if you look closely, you will see the white shaded area. That is the Dixie Fire. So you can see one little area right here, one little area to the northeast that has gone into the Dixie Fire from 2021. Another area that it's just touching is kind of just the east right here. But it hasn't really gone fully into the Dixie burn scar area, but it's getting close. And again, what really put us over the edge there was this arm that had grown over the last 24 hours or so. All right, let's take a look at the heat signature from yesterday. You can see just how active the fire was, but here's the good news. What we see overnight, you see that? Just a little bit of a glow there, but then we're not seeing much glow here this morning. So this is great news because that tells us that the fire has really settled down here. We got probably some good recovery, and so that's great. However, I will say this, we have to remember that it will most likely flare up again as we go into this afternoon. Let's take a look at this is Morgan Summit. So this is within the fire perimeter. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and play this. We'll play it from the last 12 hours. And so what happens, I'm going to go ahead and scroll through here. So you can see as we get into the evening hour, look at that. You can just see all of the embers, all of the flames that are kind of just burning away there. And then, of course, it just fills up with smoke and you can't really see anything. But again, we get closer to sunrise. They move the camera And again, just kind of filled in with smoke. And again, this is within the fire perimeter, so it's going to be hard to see unless the flames are right there. It is going to be hard to see what you're looking at. So let's take you to a different camera. And that one would be, let's do this one right here. This is Colby Mountain. There we go. This is a good one. Let's just zoom it in here a little bit tighter. We'll go ahead and play. You can see here, I mean, you look at this. That looks pretty promising, doesn't it? I mean, look at that. I mean, you can't really see much going on. And really, oh, you know what? If you look off in the distance there, that's not a good one. Let's try a different one. Let's try a different camera here. Well, I'm having a hard time finding a good one. Maybe this one? No, that's one we just looked at. Maybe this one? Stover Mountain? Well, okay, yeah, this is a better one. Let's take a look at this. Let's just take a look at a time lapse from the last 12 hours. And there, of course, is sunset. And you can see here as we kind of just see the flames. But look at the smoke. You're not seeing as much smoke, which means, again, the fire is relaxing a bit. And then we start getting into sunrise. And see how the smoke is just kind of settling in. It's not really peaking a whole lot, and so this is good. But we're already beginning to see a little bit of bubbling, which means that we're probably going to start to see it begin to flare up here, I'd say later this morning and into the early afternoon hours. So again, right now, things are looking up and up. It's better, that is, when we're talking about the smoke, so conditions are much better. But again, that is going to change most likely later on this afternoon. It's still, even though we're in a cooling trend, it's still hot, it's still dry, and there are still plenty of fuels. So we just need to be aware of that. All right, so again, I just wanted to point out where we're seeing the most of the growth and where we're seeing the black lines of containment at this point. All right, let's talk about some good news now. Well, there's some good news even with the park fire, because again, we're seeing it kind of settle down to this morning or last night. But the hill fire now at 94% containment, but wait, wait for it. And yes, the Shelley fire is now 100% contained. Everyone cheer, yay, we're getting better and better. Of course, we know the gold complex just a few days ago, now 100% containment. Now, of course, last night, they were able to get 100% containment on the Shelley fire. This is fantastic news. And, you know, the thing is, we are getting closer and closer to that containment. We've been watching that containment number go up and up with the hill fire as well. And we haven't seen much, if any, growth out of the fire at that point. All right, let's check in with you all this morning and see how you're doing, see what's going on in the world of social media and what you all have been saying, since I really haven't had a chance to look because I've just been focusing on everything here. So we're going to start at the very bottom. And we're going to put some of you up in here as well. We'll have a little fun with that. I like to just show you. There's a look at Pam Georgia Carver saying, good morning, lovely, chill in Reading. It is. You know, again, we're going to be looking at those cooler mornings, even though it's going to warm up in the afternoon. But that certainly is always a welcome sight. Let's see here. We have got, we've got up in Klamath, Oregon, quite smoky up here. North 95 mask for, N95, that is mask for me today, as I'll be outside working. Yeah, you might want to take it easy here. Let's see what else is going on here. Good morning from Durham. This is Stephen Koch. He is saying good morning, and it is a lovely 63 degrees. Well, isn't that awesome? Good for you. Glad you're enjoying your morning this morning. Curtis Brown, one of our regulars, is saying, good morning. Really appreciate your detailed coverage of the fire. Well, you are welcome. I love doing it. I was actually talking to someone who didn't know whether NorCal existed, and of course, I talked to them about it, and I told him about it, and he now knows. He says, "But you don't cover the fires, right?" I go, "Of course I do. I have to. Yes, of course." So yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Good morning from Fall River Mills, Jess and Norman Mike. So glad you could join us this morning. I'm learning a lot of good information. Good. And we've also got Jess. Oh, wait a second. Oh, that was from Fall River Mills. What did I say? Did I say Fall River Mills? All right. Good morning from Fall River Mills. There you go. All right. Excellent. Well, so glad you could join us from Fall River Mills, Jess and Norman Mike. So glad you could join us. Hey, let's take a look now. This is kind of fun. In fact, my wife and I went out there yesterday, and we went out and got this report yesterday. Now, Before we get into this, and of course my wife will explain it, but we went to a ranch and we talked to the owner and she was like, I don't really want to be on camera. That's fine. I get that. So we interviewed her, got a lot of information, and we share that with you in this week's Ag Report, and of course sponsored by Lassen Canyon Nursery. Check it out. Hello everyone, I'm meteorologist Mike Krueger.
And I'm Sadie Krueger.
And this is your NorCal Ag Report sponsored by Lassen Canyon Nursery. So where are we today, Sadie?
We are at Serendipity Farms.
Serendipity Farms. And we usually talk to the owner of the farms, but what happened?
Yes. So Tammy Miller, she's the owner. She's amazing.
She is.
And she said she didn't really want to be on camera. And I said, no problem. We'll do the interview off camera, and then Mike and I will tell you all about this amazing farm and all the things that you can do and pick here.
So it seems like the name is pretty fitting here, Serendipity, and everything's great. We've got so many things here. We could talk about, when I was asking her what type of things that she offers, it just seemed like the list kept going and going and going.
Yes.
And really, quite honestly, I mean, we could try to, off of memory, talk about some of the things. So what are some of the things that we can kind of remember?
Okay, so I love peaches.
Yeah.
So right now it's peach season. We can also pick nectarines right now. We can get thornless boysenberries.
Okay, so you talk about thornless. What's the difference between thornless and thorned?
Well, it's just that they have thorns. So I love to pick berries, and when I go out in nature, you know, sometimes you come back and you're bleeding and, you know, stained, and it's an adventure. But here, it almost feels like cheating, where you just go pick these, you know, berries that are so fresh right off the vine and thornless.
All right, so it was the peaches, the nectarines, the thornless boysenberries, and figs, right?
Figs,
So they've got the figs. So if you were to come out here today, those are the 4 things you'd be able to pick right now. So the way it works is this, and we'll kind of go into some of the other things that they have, but you come to the farm, and then you walk down, from where you park, you walk down kind of through an orchard. And then you'll find the owner, right? And she will give you all kinds of directions. And here's the beauty of it. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to know what you're really doing, quite honestly, because she will guide you 100% of the way to let you know what to look for, how to do it, all of that stuff. And you actually became prepared. What are some of the other things that you need if you come out?
Okay, so some pro tips, you know, it does help to be prepared. There is a recording, so you can call Serendipity Farms and she'll walk you through all of this, what you need. But after coming here, I've kind of got it down to a few things that I really like. So some kind of bucket. I like to have a bucket with a lid on it, and it happens to fit in my basket that I can then put on. So pro tip, I've got my bucket. Hands-free, love it. Okay, then these are just some empty containers that I have, that I've saved. And so the peaches fit perfectly upside down.
Just like when you're at the farmer's market, a lot of times it's like that. So
so it's just a great way to keep them from not getting smashed. And if you don't want to get your hands dirty when you're picking boysenberries, you can bring some little gloves, and then bring cash. And she does recommend an extra 20. Sometimes it's hard to gauge what the weight of your peaches are or your fruit. So come
because I don't
prepared.
think she accepts credit cards or anything like that. So you want to make sure you have the cash.
Yes, it is hot, it's sunny, you're in the element. So a hat, some comfortable shoes, and some bottled water.
Excellent.
Sunscreen if you're sensitive.
So we were kind of talking about this earlier. There are some fun stories that we have, some personal stories. So we were walking out here and we were thinking about one of our first trips together. We went to, well, it was kind of the Ashland area, and it was the peach orchards. So that was kind of a nice little memory for us.
Yes. Yeah, he was a good sport. He carried my peaches as I
It was fun.
picked them,
But your grandma, right? Didn't she?
Oh, I've been coming here with my grandmother. So this farm has been around for over 50 years. So my grandmother passed a few years ago at 96. So she'd been coming out here for over 30 years. It was just one of those mainstays where you could get a lug of peaches, you know, and can them. You can also get seconds, a little discounted pricing. So yeah, so this farm has been around for over 50 years. Been coming here with my grandmother.
That's awesome.
And as a fun thing that she shared, that the farm was started over 50 years ago by her mother-in-law, father-in-law, and husband. And he was a retired firefighter from the Bay Area, and his dream was to have a peach orchard. So he came up here and started this peach orchard.
And that's what's cool about it, because it started off as peaches and then it expanded into, again, there's a whole list of other things. Can you remember some of the things? I mean, boysenberry.
So they've got, besides the thornless boysenberry, they're kiwis even, which that's not until Thanksgiving. There's cherries, which start Mother's Day. That kind of kicks off the season. There are persimmons, 2 different kinds. Plums, 5 different kinds. Like I said, the apples, it just keeps going. She even has eggs.
Yeah, they got chickens roaming around.
They were out already, so you do have to come early to get the eggs.
And don't step on the eggs. No, just kidding.
And she does have a dog and chickens, so please leave your dogs at home.
Yeah, and the reason she doesn't want you to bring your dogs, because there are chickens roaming around, there's other things, and so the dogs will be a chasing, like our dog would be chasing everything
and her sheep.
Here. And the sheep, all of that. So really overall, Serendipity Farm, it's an amazing place. This is the first time I've been here. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's great to see all the peaches out here that we can pick. You are going to stick around and you're going to actually do some, you got all the gear, so might as well do it. And you're going to do some, what are some of the things that you're looking to pick today?
So today I'm going to pick some peaches, I'm going to get some nectarines, I might get a few of the thornless boysenberries, even though I have some. I just would like a handful that I can have fresh, and then I have to get some figs.
Got to get the figs.
I love figs, so I'm getting everything.
Got to get this. So she's getting everything that can be offered. So come on down here. What we'll do also is we will try to, try to figure out a way so you can very easily, but we'll at least have a phone number for you on the screen so you know where to call, who to call, and then of course some directions on how to get here, because there's a little bit out of the way, but it's really not too far out of the Reading area, so it shouldn't be all that bad. Anything else you can think of?
No, but again, these are some pro tips to make your experience awesome, so I'm sure you're going to love it. So come out and happy picking. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Well, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time for another edition of NorCal Ag, sponsored by Lassen Canyon Nursery. Once again, I want to thank Lassen Canyon Nursery for their support, and their sponsorship of NorCal Ag is brought to them. Without them, we would not have this awesome report. We go out to different farms, different ranches, and we interview the owners. We talk about, what they offer sometimes. Sometimes we'll talk about what's impacting the crops. There are all kinds of different topics we can talk about in the NorCal Ag report. So again, want to thank Lassen Canyon Nursery for their support. Checking in with everybody this morning before we head out to our deep dive forecast. We'll be taking a look at your forecast in complete detail, kind of what I'm known for around here, and we'll take a look at that here in just a second. But I just want to check in with everybody else and see what everybody else is saying, and oh, aren't you nice? My wife is going to love to hear that. We have got Chappie. Let's go ahead and send that. Let's see if did it go in? Did it go in? Did it go in? And yes, she says, your wife is adorable. I know, she is. That's why I married her. Well, that's not the reason why, but yes, she's absolutely adorable. I could not agree with you more, and appreciate your compliments of that. Hello, Mike Krueger, Weather NorCal. Thank you for showing this. It's so much fun. I think we had, I had mentioned that here from Amelia. Labara, again, I should just stick with first names. But yeah, Weather NorCal, thank you for showing us this. So much fun. So if you haven't been out there, Serendipity Farms, I mean, it's really amazing. I absolutely loved it out there. And my wife is going there. She was going there with her grandma years and years ago. So it just kind of became a staple of what she does. And she came back with some great peaches and all kinds of great stuff. So yeah, go check it out and make sure you bring the cash, because they only accept cash. And she's very helpful. She'll tell you everything you need to know when it comes to all that. All right, tell you what, let's get to the forecast. But before we do that, in the deep dive forecast, we want to remember that we have sponsors, of course, like Lassen Canyon Nursery for the NorCal Ag Report, and the person or the business that sponsors Coffee with Krueger for Weather NorCal is Wind River Resort and Casino. At Wind River Resort and Casino, enjoy friendly service, a wide variety of specials and promotions, plus all of your favorite slots and table games. I do want to remind you that you can send in your photos. Love seeing your photos, and I'm sure you love seeing other people's photos as well. Like this one from Austin Grissom. Look at this. The sunset, the cattle grazing. Absolutely beautiful shot. I love those silhouette shots when you have that sunrise or sunset. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I want to see more of these. I'm sure you would like to see more of these. And the way to do that is for you
to send in your photos. And there's a really easy way to do that. If you have a phone, which I'm sure you do, okay, and you've got apps, and I know that there are a ton of weather apps, and everyone has their favorite apps that they've been using for years, right? But here's what I want to mention, and I'll say this again, and I'll say it again and again and again. The beauty of the Weather NorCal app is it's backed by me. Okay, I have 6 different neighborhoods. What I do is every morning I go in and I update the forecast, 7-day forecast, the day forecast. I massage the numbers. I make the numbers happen. Okay, well, I don't make them, but I put the forecast in there. It's my personal forecast for all of Northern California. So there is some AI generation, but a majority of it is from me. So when I update the forecast, I push save and send. It goes out to the app. It goes out to my weather computer for the numbers that you see on my weathercast. It goes out to the website. It goes out everywhere where you see the Weather NorCal forecast. And again, you can rest assured that it's backed by me. Now, again, there are some, we have to see some interpolation through AI to make it happen for some areas, but some of the larger communities, those are 100% and completely generated by me. So, and that's also where you can share your photos. All right, so let's take a look at your temperatures out there right now. We're mainly in the mid to upper 60s. Hey, how nice is that? Chico about 72 though, 71 degrees for Oroville. And in the mountains, we're in the 40s, 50s, 60s, just depending on exactly where you are. 53 degrees right now in Crescent City, as well as Eureka. Of course, you got the fog out there this morning. Some of that should burn off though this afternoon. Typical summer heat the rest of the week. Slight dip in our highs this weekend. Even cooler by next week. Yeah, cooler, believe it or not. And no significant rain or thunderstorms in the forecast. The rain would be nice, but we don't like the thunderstorms. And typically when we get the rain, it's usually accompanied by lightning strikes, unfortunately. Right now, the winds are fairly calm. That's to be expected. But as we go through the afternoon, what we really look for, because the pattern has been calm winds in the overnight, kind of going back up again in the afternoon. And I don't see anything unusual. I don't see anything changing in that overall pattern. What we really look for are major wind events. Because once we see those major wind events, that's when fire danger really just goes way up there. And so we don't have to really worry about that going into the weekend. What we still have to worry about is the fact that, yes, temperatures are dropping, but the humidity levels are staying fairly low. Now, with that said, typically when the temperatures start to drop, we do see humidity levels start to go up a little bit here. But you can see even through Saturday, we're still down to the single digits. So yes, we're going to see some minor relief for the firefighters, and hopefully it starts to settle down, especially as we do go into next week. But until then, we're going to have to deal with what we've been dealing with here probably for the last few days. As you can see here this afternoon, I think we're going to start to see that fire flare up again. I don't know exactly how strong it will be. We'll have to kind of wait and see type of situation. But I think we're going to see a pretty decent heat signature coming out of it, and that most of that smoke will make its way to Chester and Susanville later this afternoon, and not to mention going into tonight. And it's pretty much the same story here as we take into Friday. It kind of settles down again Friday morning, Friday afternoon, Friday evening. There it is, heading back into Chester and Susanville. So here's the big picture. Now, what we're looking at here is the monsoon moisture off to our east. By the way, too, you may have noticed the clouds out there yesterday. You'll see them again today in some cases here, as we're still seeing some of that moisture kind of working its way in. Now, some of the forecast models have been showing maybe the potential for some showers this afternoon, maybe even tomorrow afternoon. And in fact, radar did pick up on a few showers near the Susanville area early this morning, most likely not even reaching the ground. So that's really the extent of what we're seeing out of that. Unfortunately, it's just not really doing much for us other than just giving us a few clouds. By later this afternoon, most of those clouds are off to the north and east. We may see some afternoon cumulus clouds for places like Siskiyou County, Modoc County, even in the eastern mountains. Otherwise, you can see that fog really staying fairly persistent along the coast. Taking you into your Friday, same story. That fog really kind of hanging on. Maybe some afternoon cumulus clouds for some of the higher elevations, especially off to the east here. And then we go into Saturday. Once again, we're seeing some of those cumulus clouds. Now, again, what we have to really look at when we start to see those clouds really become pretty prominent, we can't rule out maybe a stray shower or even a thunderstorm. But as of right now, I'm not putting it in the forecast just yet. We'll have to kind of watch that closely. Otherwise, there's that fog. Yeah, still kind of persisting along the coast. I mean, we're still going to see some clearing some of these days for parts of the coast, but it's going to be hard to do that. Now, the monsoon moisture, you see how overnight it dies down, they come back up in the afternoon, dies down overnight, back in the afternoon. That's the monsoon moisture. That's typical that we see here in the desert Southwest. Sometimes that moisture works its way up into Northern California, but that's not the case. We're not going to see it for the weekend and really through all of next week. And the main thing that we're watching is this hot air that's been over us. It's moving back down to the south and east, and things are warming back up for the desert Southwest and even going into Texas. And then, of course, as we take a look at this trough of low pressure right here, this is the beginning phases of a drop in our temperatures. We're going to really notice it as we go into early next week. And the reason being, this colder air moving into Canada has some cold air associated with it, and that is going to try to work its way down into the Pacific Northwest, Northern California. So what we're going to start to see is a drop in our temperatures as we go through next week. So we're noticing a downward trend as we go into the weekend, even more so going into next week. Something to look forward to with those cooler temperatures. And again, that's a big help. That can be a help here for the firefighters. It's not enough. We could really drop down and get just a big douse of rain without any lightning strikes would be nice, but that's not going to happen. But you can see, of course, Climate Prediction Center is picking up on the cooler than normal temperatures that we're most likely going to see going through next week. And you can see that trend downward for Redding in particular through Saturday, and then we drop below normal right there through all of next week, even into that next weekend. Boy, oh boy, we'll take that for sure. Look at those wave heights. You can see that they are going to stay fairly consistent here as we go into this afternoon and even into your Friday, your marine forecast. No advisory, it's just that patchy, dense fog, especially in the morning. Those northwest winds at about 5 to 10 knots. All right, so here's what it looks like out there for today. Those temperatures are dropping really across the board. You look at the 7-day trend, you're going to notice a big drop in the temperatures going into early next week. The only difference, the only place that really won't see that will, of course, be the coast. Otherwise, Hayfork, you're down to about 90 by early next week. For the North Coast, we take you out to Redway. Temperatures down to the mid-80s by Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Out towards places like Ferndale, Fortuna, Hydesville, and Rio Dell, you're down into the mid-60s by the time we get into Sunday and Monday. But of course, that's essentially a lot of that coastal influence, and that's the reason why it's typically cooler there. McKinleyville, about 66, 65 out in Eureka, but you head inland, yeah, still pretty hot out there today, about 100 degrees here. But temperatures are dropping, especially by early next week. 63 for Crescent City, 68 for Oric today. Gas Key, about 81. And out towards Orleans, a high of about 102 degrees. How about your Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast? Well, it's still over 100 degrees here as you head on the corridor of Highway 96, but Hornbrook about 101, 98 degrees for Gazelle. And we take you to the south into Scott Valley with temperatures there in the mid to upper 90s, but in the 80s by early next week. Central, eastern Siskiyou County, temperatures down to the upper 80s by Sunday. Weed about 94 today, as well as Mount Shasta City and McLeod, and look for a high of about 91 degrees in Doris. Let's take you off into Modoc County, where temperatures there in the low to maybe some mid 90s in there. Could see some haze out there. Temperatures in the upper 80s by Monday, mid 80s by Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. We take a look at the eastern mountains up to the north, northeast. There you can see Fall River Mills about 92, 86 for Old Station. Paynes Creek about 97. There's your 7-day forecast for Bernie. You're dropping down to the mid-80s by Monday as well. So cooler weather really across the board. There's a look at Lake Almanor and Lassen Park. There's Chester. There's a look at Lassen Park. Of course, those temperatures, even in Chester, dropping down to the low 80s by early next week. And we take a look at Paradise and Susanville. Paradise, you're down into about 90 by Sunday, mid to upper 80s by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And for Susanville, mainly in the upper 80s for Monday through Wednesday. Let's take a look at your neighborhood forecast for the Valley, and those temperatures are going to be you can see some delta breeze influenced areas like Corning southward. Otherwise, mainly about 100 degrees or just slightly higher. Look for a high of 103 out towards the city of Shasta Lake and Redding, not to mention Palo Cedro and Anderson, and Cottonwood, a high of about 102 degrees. Let's take a look at your 7-day outlook for Redding. Temperatures just slowly but surely dropping. 102 for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You're talking 99, and look at that. Yeah, we're down below normal for this time of the year. 93 degrees by Tuesday, and there, of course, you see by Wednesday, look at those temperatures in the mid-90s. So the forecast for really the next 7 days is looking much more promising. It's not only going to be more comfortable for us when we're talking about temperatures in the low to mid-90s, but that is also going to help in the firefighting efforts, because just as a general rule of thumb, when the temperatures drop, the humidity begins to increase. Not by a whole lot. It's still going to be dry by our standards, but when you start to see the temperatures drop and the humidity go up a little bit, that can help in the firefighting efforts, because when you have the humidity higher, the fuels do react pretty much instantaneously, and as a result, when you have more moisture in the atmosphere and in the fuels, it's harder for the fuels to burn as quickly as we've seen. And that is obviously going to be a big help. So let's kind of check in with everybody before we kind of sign off here this morning and see how everybody's doing, see what everyone's been kind of chatting about since I was up there at the wall talking about the weather. Here we go. We've got, who is this? Chris. Chris is saying, good morning from MacArthur. Livestock in Bieber. Smoke seems to be lifting. Likely was very smoky yesterday afternoon when we were there. All right, so we've got a Modoc County viewer. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us this morning. We've got Debbie saying, yay for cooler temperatures. Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. That is so awesome. Gotta love those cooler temperatures. Well, that's going to do it for us this morning, folks. Let's leave you with a shot here of, well, I was going to show you here. Maybe we can get to it right here that way. Make that a lot easier here. But that's going to wrap things up this morning. We are going to leave you with some cameras, including out towards the coast as well. Have yourselves a great Friday. No, today, I wish it was Friday. Have yourselves a great Thursday, and we'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early at 7 a.m. on Coffee with Krueger. We'll see you later.